It's difficult to quit if you are addicted to something, but some addictions can only be dealt with by knowing the truth. If you will know that what you are addicted to is a weapon formed against you, you will quit immediately. I'm Olani Moloi, and thanks for watching. And this video is not about hating anyone, but it's all about my perspective. I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you who have subscribed to this channel. And I would like to let you know that I had to take a winter break due to my personal stuff. So there are many things that I had to deal with during this winter. It's because here in South Africa, it's winter. And during my winter break, a lot has happened. We can talk about Mkhwanazi matter. We can talk about the rumor that there are some people from Lesotho who want to take over some parts of South Africa, and I wanted to cover that matter, but due to my personal stuff I couldn't. But if I get an opportunity, I can do so in order to make people to understand what is going on. And again, I can talk about Russia and America. Again, we can talk about Iran and Israel. In other words, a lot has happened. In this video, I just want to talk about the growing tension between Russia and the United States of America. And in this channel, if it doesn't affect Africa, I don't talk about it. If it doesn't affect Africa, I just ignore it. But since it affects Africa, I have to talk about it. But I just want to show you how does it affect Africa. If you are a student of history, or if you know history, and I think each and every African supposed to know their history, because there was a time when our history was twisted. There was a time when we were prohibited to know about our history, culture, heritage, and many other things. So right now, I think history should be compulsory. Many people should know about the things that I'm going to talk about. During the times of Berlin Conference, there was a time when multiple countries from Europe gathered in Berlin, and they hosted this conference, or they held this conference there in order to discuss about Africa, how to deal with Africa, how to colonize Africa. This was their mission. And you have to know that these Western countries, they are always 10 steps ahead of Africa. Unfortunately, we are led by people without a vision, people who can't study weather, people who can't see what is coming. They cannot predict anything. They are just in leadership in the name of puppeting. Why? Because they are the puppets of these countries. That is why we always suffer. That is why we are always behind, while others are 10 steps ahead of us or 100 steps ahead of us. So in that conference, they were discussing about colonizing Africa, and Africans were not there. Not even a single person was representing Africa. So right now you can see a tension between the United States of America and Russia. Sometimes you might think, okay, it's between Russia and America. It doesn't affect us. It's between Israel and Iran. It doesn't affect us. But indirectly, it affects us because it's all about Africa. You have to know something about these Western countries. They've been waiting for a time such as this. In other words, whereby Africa would say enough is enough. Even though they did not expect it to happen or to start in Burkina Faso or Niger or Mali, but they've been waiting for such a time as this. In other words, if they are 10 steps ahead of us, in other words, They always have plans because it's all about their interest. So that is why they lie to many of us, telling us that there's no longer colonialism, no longer all these other things, and they gave us fake independence and etc., poor education and all these other things. But while they were busy dealing with the minerals of Africa, but in that process of dealing with the minerals of Africa or taking African minerals to their countries, they've been ready for such a time as this. But now, they have a stumbling block. They have to deal with this stumbling block. Why? Because it's easy for them to deal with Africa. It's easy as ABC. Why it's so easy is because they taught us to depend on them with everything, even when it comes to security. So that is why it's very difficult for Africa to defend itself against these countries. They can do whatever. So that is why they also planned terrorists there and there. In other words, this is their mission. But putting all these people all over Africa, such as the overthrowers and others, it's a small matter to them. But when it comes to big matter, when they come and say now, when they show us their true colors to say we want to go against Africa and with full force, and there's no way we can deal with them. But now they have a stumbling block, and that stumbling block is Russia. Not to say Russia is the friend of Africa, but when it comes to history, whenever they want to sabotage Africa, I'm talking about Western countries, whenever they want to do all their shenanigans here in Africa, Russia is always against them, or Russia does not include itself in their shenanigans. So now, in order for them to deal with Africa, they have to deal with Russia first. Because even during the apartheid, even during colonialism, countries like Russia were there to help Africa. It's just that Russia was betrayed by some of our African leaders. So that is why when we got this fake independence, then Russia withdrew itself. In other words, Russia stood a distance because we betrayed Russia because of our leaders. That is why right now we are where we are. Not to say Africa cannot be independent, but I still believe that if we could have cut ties with Western countries completely, we would be far by now. But they are always 10 steps ahead, and they are united. No one can divide Western countries, especially if they have a common interest. So now their common interest is African minerals. And now they've realized more than ever that they cannot do anything without Africa. They need Africa. We can talk about France and many others. So that is why they have to come together. They have to collaborate in order to put Africa into submission, or to make Africa submit to them, because they can see now that young people are waking up. So they don't want young people to wake up. They want to keep us asleep with their poor education, with all these other things, funding non-profit organizations, and etc., using politics, funding politicians, and they just want to keep us asleep. But now as we speak, they can see that there is a stumbling block, which is Russia. So they've been trying by all means to manipulate Russia. All these years, I've been watching them. I've been watching the United States of America trying by all means to manipulate Russia. But Russia is always making decisions by itself. It doesn't want to depend on other countries like the United States because they can see that these countries are very manipulative. So that is why right now they're like, you know what? In order for us to get all these other countries like Ukraine and many others here in Africa, we have to deal with Russia. These are the things that we need to understand as Africans. It's very important. It's very important. I'm not against the people of America, but the leaders of America have a different vision. American people might be good people, but the leaders in America right now, they are against Africa, but they act as if they want to deal with Russia. They act as if they are interested in democracy. They're interested in all these many things, when in reality, it's all about Africa. That if we can get Africa. So that is why now there are rumors that some of these criminals have been deported in America to Africa. There's an agenda. There's an agenda as well. If I get time, we have to talk about these things because there are many things that we need to talk about. I know some people might say South Africa is a dancing country. Nigeria is this country. Uganda is this country. But sometimes we just have to focus on serious issues. Let's come together and deal with these people because these people are united. These people are united. In other words, if we want to deal with colonialism, poverty, and all these other things, we need to come together. But they have a strategy because in each and everything we do, they always come. They come in the name of funding. They come in the name of helping. But their help, it's all about dividing us. So right now as we speak, for an example, let's just say Russia gets defeated in this whole thing, it loses power, then it's gonna be a walk in the park for them here in Africa.